Something has moved through here. Oh my, look at this. Holy, look at that. That is a footprint.
From captured live footage of Bigfoot to a special ops team's dangerous encounter with the creature, the hunt is over. Bigfoot has finally been found. For the longest time, thousands of adventurers have tried to track down Bigfoot, the mysterious creature many claim lurks in the Pacific Northwest forests. Despite more than 10,000 reported sightings in the United States alone, nobody has managed to obtain hardcore evidence of a real Bigfoot. Until now, a group of researchers, the Expedition Bigfoot crew, using advanced data algorithms and the latest camera and scanning technology, have found something remarkable, a video that could confirm the existence of Bigfoot. Russell's footage. During one of their expeditions, Russell was surveying the area the crew had chosen to investigate when he spotted something unusual through his camera lens. At first glance, it looked like a bear, which wasn't surprising given how common they were in the area. But then, the unexpected happened. The creature suddenly stood upright on two legs, moving in a way no bear could, before disappearing into the woods. This sight left Russell in disbelief. He couldn't keep it to himself, and immediately shared what he saw with his partner Zach. Russell explained to Zach how the creature stood just like a human would, and replayed the clip to him.
Zach, that thing just stood up like you and I would just stand up. Look at that. Dude!
Even after replaying the clip, Russell could still not believe what he had just seen. What he thought to be a bear due to the fur just stood up like a human being, turned around and walked away. It's like the creature was squatting, perhaps spying on possible prey, or carefully studying Russell and his crew. Although bears could walk on 2 feet, they were not as stable as the creatures they had seen. Excited by this, he tried to get another look at the animal and zoom in around the area to see if the creature would appear on the other side of the trees, but there was nothing to look at any longer. The creature was gone.
Holy crap.
You got asthma?
Hang on. I can't see it. I'm trying to see if it comes out on the other side of those trees. And there's nothing. Where did it go?
Overjoyed by this new find, Russell decided to go to the area where he had spotted the creature and investigate more, perhaps find some other clues. After a while, Russell could not wait to show the crew the video he had just captured, and so he called everyone back to base camp.
Russ for Ronnie. Russ for Maria.
Hey, Russ, go ahead.
Hey, Russ. Go for Maria.
I've got some amazing video that I need to share with you. Can you be at camp? I need to meet up with everybody.
Once Russell played the video, they could almost not believe their eyes. Russell told them, "So check this out. It looks like a bear. At first, that's what I thought I was looking at. It's just a bear. Until now. Watch this."
Yeah. Understand something. This is over a mile away.
Okay.
Holy crap. And I see what looks like a bear on the hillside. So check this out. It looks like a bear. At first, that's what I thought I was looking at. It's just a bear. Until now. Watch this.
Oh my God.
Watching the footage, Maria was completely astonished. It felt like they were on the verge of uncovering something extraordinary, something that could change the view of modern science and archaeology forever. Russell slowed down the video to give them a clearer look, and what appeared on the screen left the crew in disbelief. Bryce and Maria, with their deeper understanding of Bigfoot lore, immediately sensed this was no ordinary sighting. To them, it didn't resemble a bear at all. The way the creature behaved, its hairy frame and human-like movement on 2 feet, pointed to a different possibility. For Maria, a detail-oriented scientist, something stood out above all others. She was struck by how the creature moved its head. Its subtle, deliberate movements as it looked around before walking away seemed far too calculated for a bear. The creature's vertical head-to-floor motion only made her belief stronger. With her expertise, she was certain no bear could move that way. Maria also considered the known animals in the area. None of them matched the movement captured on video. To her, this wasn't just unusual, it was a breakthrough. She truly believed that Russell's footage could hold a crucial piece of evidence for their research into Bigfoot's existence. But their research was far from over. Strange tree structures deep in the woods. As they searched the woods, Bryce and Maria discovered a massive tree structure that they could not explain. Although they had found similar structures in their previous expeditions, like the one in Alaska, this one was way much bigger than the rest.
This is weird.
This is amazing.
Maria thought that it was weird. Bryce thought it was amazing. They noticed the intentional arrangement of the trees to form something that looked like a shelter. It was 15 feet high, almost big enough to be called a Bigfoot house. But that's not all. The top of the structure that connected all the trees was intentionally and carefully woven by someone or something. After a deeper examination of the tree structure, Bryce came up with the theory that no ordinary animal could have done this. In his expertise, this tree structure could not have been built by just anyone or anything. This is because there were about a dozen logs weighing around 150 to 200 pounds, with ornate intentional ornamentation laid across. To Bryce, it would have taken a group of men to put the strange structure together. So what or who really built these structures, and for what? Having seen similar structures in their previous expeditions in different parts of the world, they were now joining the dots. At this point, Bryce was very optimistic about this finding, but Maria didn't seem to think that the structure was that significant. Although their point of view conflicted, they agreed that the structure was a good place to find DNA. If the structure was built and did not exist naturally, then whoever or whatever built it left some evidence of themselves. As they searched for anything they could use for DNA tests, Bryce argued that if the structure was built by someone or something, then it must have had a purpose.
Yeah, this to me eliminates the idea that those first two structures were perhaps natural. This was put here for a purpose.
In Bryce's perspective, the tree structure was a Bigfoot boundary marker to mark nesting territory, and they were right in the middle of it. Seeing Bryce's excitement, Maria interjected by acknowledging that based on Bryce's analysis, the structure was indeed interesting, but she urged them not to hurry to come to any conclusion. Typical Maria. A scientist in her own right takes a logical approach to gathering data and evidence of pseudoscience beliefs. This was her role in the group, analyzing pseudoscience data and presenting it in a way acceptable to mainstream science. In order to do that, Maria believed that the crew had to speak the language of their critics and provide logical proof of the existence of Bigfoot. For this reason, Maria was always careful and hesitant about using the word evidence to refer to strange findings. To her, this tree structure was not evidence of anything, but it reminded her of a tree structure that looked similar to the one they had found in Kentucky. And Kentucky was an interesting place, since the crew had gotten some of their most interesting DNA results.
I'm always really careful and hesitant not to use the word evidence, because to me this is not evidence of anything. But what it did remind me of instantly, though, was that tree structure that we had found in Kentucky. And that's where we had gotten some of our most interesting DNA results.
Understanding where Maria was coming from, Bryce agreed, and they decided to look for more clues. Maria chose to look for potential samples from underneath the structure, while Bryce took a closer look on the outside for anything else that might have served as a clue to their research. The area around the structure provided the team with a lot of potential samples that they could check later on, and this made them very hopeful about their investigation. According to Maria, if the findings in an expedition are isolated and far apart, they do not end up being so significant. However, when finding multiple samples in multiple locations in multiple investigations, one must ask oneself whether these pieces of evidence are part of a bigger puzzle. As they searched the structures for any clues, Bryce found some hair samples and called Maria to check them out.
Hey, Maria.
What is it?
It looks like a hair.
Where are you seeing it?
All right over here. Check it out. Right?
Oh, yeah, no.
Doesn't that look like a hair?
That looks like a hair.
Yeah, that's a hair.
Right there.
Yeah.
After obtaining the samples, Bryce expressed his interest in taking the hair to the lab for DNA examination. This structure was turning out to be quite a strange one. Not only was it weird looking, but it also had multiple samples of hair all over and around it. These findings increased their hunger for the truth, and so, to get more clues, they decided to go deeper into the forest and explore the riverbanks, a common place to find potential clues since all creatures must drink water.
Getting close.
I think that we need to keep pushing through tonight and keep going down this river and see if it leads us somewhere else.
100% agree. We are hot on the trail. Let's keep going.
Although they managed to capture Bigfoot on camera and came across some strange tree structures in the woods, it wasn't nearly as intense or dangerous as what Miles and his team of trained Black Ops went through. Militant Bigfoot. In February 1994, Miles and his team were deep in the Alaskan wilderness, working on one of their missions. Their goal was to simply sneak into an area observe without being noticed, and leave without a trace. But something unexpected stopped them in their tracks and forced them to head back sooner than they had planned. Being special ops, Miles and his team were ready for the freezing Alaska and winter. All team members had skis to help them move across the snow and backpacks filled with other essential military gear. On top of that, they had meals and heavy clothing to keep them warm. They started their journey near Fairbanks, heading east past the Eielson Air Force Base. As expected, along the way, they faced challenging terrain, steep hills, the valleys, swampy patches, and dense woods. When they reached a particularly thick forest, Miles decided they needed to check if they could pass through or if they should find another way. For this reason, Miles instructed 2 crew members to switch to snowshoes, venture into the woods, and scout. That's when they found something they did not expect. They discovered large footprints in the snow. Each one was about 18 inches long and was spaced about 5 feet apart. Seeing this, Miles measured them with a tape measure he had on hand for deeper analysis. The prints were deep and clearly shaped, showing that whatever made them moved smoothly through the snow, putting its legs high enough to leave clean marks without any smudging. It had to be a tall creature. This was nothing like they had seen before. When one of the soldiers tried to walk in the same way without snowshoes, his legs would sink into the snow to the level of his knees. These mysterious tracks suggested the existence of an unusual creature native to the area, moving through deep snow. At least, that's what some of them thought. Would this discovery transform their routine training into an exciting encounter with the creature that had made these smooth movements? Excited to make their training program more exciting, their curiosity grew, and they called their expert tracker sergeant to examine the footprints further. As he observed the 18-inch footprints closely, he noticed clear toe shapes indicating a huge creature, possibly 9 feet tall and weighing between 500 and 700 pounds. Although these measurements were preliminary estimates, their nature was clearly extraordinary. For this reason, Miles and his team decided to follow the trail to learn more about the massive creature that was causing them. As they followed the tracks, they noticed how the creature moved through its environment. The path led them along ridges through the dense woods, always avoiding open areas, which suggested that the creature knew how to stay hidden. This behavior mirrored the team's own tactics of using the terrain to stay out of sight, which fascinated them. Moving through the deep snow was tough. The cold terrain slowed them down, but they pressed on with their skis and snowshoes. Eventually, the daylight faded, and they set up camp, prepared their meals, and settled into the sleeping bags. By late evening, the campsite was quiet, clear, and cold, with a gentle breeze in the air. But the most surprising thing was about to unfold. Around 4 a.m., Miles was woken up by a deep, distant, eerie sound in the dark of the night. It was a howl that echoed all over the snowy wilderness. The sound was uniquely deep and resonant, unlike anything Miles had heard before. At first, he thought it might be a wolf, which would be a normal thing in the wilderness of Alaska. But this howl was different. It was deeper, almost like a roar hinting at something much larger. Miles stayed awake, listening intently as the forest returned to silence, which did not last long. Suddenly, the silence was shattered by a new, louder sound approaching their camp, suggesting a large animal, possibly a moose, was nearby. The noise intensified and then abruptly ceased about 100 feet away, leaving an unsettling stillness. Being a special operative and the team leader, Miles was convinced that whatever was out there was still learning and watching the campsite. As Miles listened closely, the noise resumed from the southeast, not approaching or receding near the campsite, but moving back and forth, snapping branches under its weight. This definitely woke up the rest of the team members, and one by one, they emerged from their tents to investigate. Although they were all good at tracking, they had their sergeant lead the tracking exercise as he was the expert. They tried to find the source of the noise, but the rustling stopped again, putting them back in a state of loud silence until a terrifying howl that escalated to a roar pierced the silence. What they expected to be an exciting routine was turning out to be an unpredictable expedition, yet that was just the beginning of it. After a few moments of strange sounds, their unsettling encounter continued. A loud, clear scream echoed through the hills, lasting several seconds before silence returned. Quickly, they scanned the forest with flashlights but saw nothing. Armed only with basic gear and no ammunition, they felt too vulnerable to continue the pursuit, considering that the creature they were after seemed to be intelligent enough to remain stealthy. As dawn neared, they heard a tree forcefully falling. The loud cracking sound convinced them to leave immediately. By 4 a.m., they began packing, planning to depart at sunrise. Before leaving, Miles and another soldier decided to check the area one last time. They discovered more large footprints in a freshly broken pine tree. According to Miles, this was evidence that the creature had been moving around there. On top of that, the sight of a cleanly broken tree and fresh footprint suggested the presence of a large, powerful creature lurking in the area. This compelling yet intimidating evidence of the wild, unpredictable terrain they had entered left them no choice. Concerned about safety and focus on the mission, the team, led by Miles, chose to keep their encounter private to avoid distractions and unnecessary rumors. They agreed that discussing their experiences could detract from their professional duties, and that silence was a form of respect for the formidable wilderness they had faced. As they departed the campsite, their collective silence reflected a deep respect for the untamed nature they had encountered. After their Alaskan journey, Miles and his team chose not to discuss the unusual events they experienced, fearing they could lead to complications and unwanted scrutiny at their base. Additionally, they learned from Anthony, a survival expert from northeastern Washington who trained at the Fairchild Air Force Survival School, that the school emphasized on crucial survival skills, including navigating with detailed topographical maps that show typical wildlife and an interesting illustration of Sasquatch or Bigfoot. This unusual inclusion of Bigfoot on a government-issued map piqued Miles' interest, especially given their recent mysterious encounter. The depiction of Bigfoot fueled his curiosity about what they might have discovered had they pursued the strange tracks deeper into the wilderness, encountering Sasquatch in the Alaska shadows. Following this encounter, Miles was haunted by the possibility that they had come into a direct encounter with Bigfoot. This was clear since the footprints they discovered were unlike those of any known local wildlife, moving with stealth and grace, not seen in other animals native to the area. This, along with the depiction of Sasquatch on a government survival map, led Miles to contemplate the existence of undiscovered creatures in the wilderness. Furthermore, this incident deeply affected the team, showing how much of the natural world remained mysterious and unexplored to them. Despite their training, they were reminded of their own limits in understanding the vast wilderness. After the training program, Miles and his team's understanding of the wilderness and the concept of Bigfoot was completely changed. For the special ops, it took a direct encounter. But how has society's perspective shifted with all the countless sightings? Bigfoot's cultural perspective shift. For many years, Bigfoot has been well known as an often hairy bipedal creature, originating from Native American tales describing a mysterious being in the wilderness known as a wild man. The concept of Bigfoot gained widespread attention in the late 1950s. This occurred when a construction worker named Jerry Crew discovered large human-like footprints in California's Bluff Creek, which a local newspaper reported, coining the term Bigfoot and attracting public fascination. Following the discovery of Bigfoot's footprints, ongoing reports of sightings and more footprints spread, talking of an encounter with what most witnesses described as a tall, muscular, bipedal creature with dark fur, ranging from 6 to 15 feet tall, with around 24-inch footprints. On top of that, multiple reports talk of the creature's strong, unpleasant smell and its unique ability to move in the woods with stealth, along with occasional eerie sounds and screams during the night. One of the most notable pieces of evidence is a 1967 film by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin near Bluff Creek, showing a figure believed to be Bigfoot. This film has been highly debated, with some considering it a hoax and others believing it to be the true Bigfoot. While skeptics have a reason to doubt the existence of the legendary creature, the evidence also exists in countless tales and folklore of various tribes. In North American indigenous cultures, tales of such creatures vary by tribe. For instance, Canada's native people refer to Bigfoot as Sasquatch, meaning wild men, and other specific Northwest tribes have similar stories in their cultural narratives. Yet this fascination with Bigfoot goes beyond curiosity. It connects to humans' deep interest in the unknown and their relationship with nature. Over the years, Bigfoot has become more than just a topic for local campfire stories. This beast has been part of discussions about protecting the environment and conserving nature, showing the creature's role and reminding people about the unknowns and the natural world. With time, Bigfoot's image in popular culture has evolved significantly. Initially portrayed as a menacing creature in horror movies and adventure stories during the 1970s and 1980s, the 1990s and 2000s saw a shift in perception as Bigfoot began to be viewed as a symbol for conservation, emphasizing the importance of rather than fearing the mythical creature. Despite numerous reports and some physical evidence like footprints and hair, most scientists remain skeptical about Bigfoot's existence, often attributing sightings to misidentified animals and hoaxes. However, the legend has persisted, captivating those fascinated by the existence of the creature in the wilderness. Experts like physical anthropologists Jeff Meldrum and Grover Krantz argue that the evidence presented needs further investigation. According to Meldrum, After looking deep into a footprint cast with unique features that suggested an unidentified creature, Bigfoot often has a strong smell and makes strange structures in the woods. Additionally, Bigfoot is said to have burial practices, potentially explaining the lack of the creature's remains in regions like Oregon and Washington, particularly the Pacific Northwest. In recent years, Bigfoot has become more than a legend. The creature has become a cultural icon, with its figure being used as a symbol in regions with sightings. With its mysterious nature, some communities even developed mascots and local laws aimed to protect the creature. But his appearance has not stopped there. Bigfoot frequently appears in various media forms like documentaries, TV shows, and cartoons, keeping the legend alive through new sightings and debates.